Hello everyone, welcome to the build of Rose Villa, my Victorian mansion, rendered by my good friend Marvin. So in this video I'm going to be focusing mainly on the entry area and just a quick shot of where I'm up to. So the shiny spot you see there, that's just where the last panel that I did, it's still wet. So just show you a quick view of when you come in the front door what you'll see, LED light windows left and right, and that's the pattern that I'll be doing. So this parquet flooring was a pattern that I got from my great grandmother, and this is the overall look of what I want to look like, also the main bedroom and the lounge room. So here I'm just cutting the masonite to fit in the area there. I decided to go with the masonite because I've got the small tile pieces that I'm putting in, and there could be a lot of edges that can be lifted up if any boards move. So putting the thick, now this masonite's 5mm thick, or you could say just under 1/4 inch, and yeah, that'll just help it lay flat and stay flat. So Julie's got in, she was keen to help, so got her on the staple gun, put about 1,000 staples into this masonite. You have to staple this masonite down about every 100mm square, so it's quite a few staples. Julie's got sore knees and she's struggling a bit there. So we're putting the edge strips around first, so I've got some oak and some blackwood strips that will go all the way around. So just cutting them all to size first and getting them pinned in. It's a bit of a time-consuming job getting all these bits cut exactly right, but the finished result is just, you know, well worth the effort. So then we'll go into the herringbone pattern down the hallway. This is just a treatment that I'm doing purely in the entry. So there will be a height difference, so I'll just be putting a small ramp going from this room into the hallway, just so there's no trip hazard there. So I'm gluing this down with some liquid nails, and I'm putting some PVA wood glue on the edges just to help with it staying in one piece. There's so many little pieces, I don't believe it will have a lot of movement. I'm pretty sure that this will stay pretty flat. Only time will tell. So there's a lot of edge pieces that are going to need to go around, but I've got a spacer to space it out and make sure that this pattern goes along nice and straight and square. So it's quite a nice little pattern this. It's basically a 3-dimensional box, and when you come in the front door you'll be looking at it the right way. This, looking at it from this angle, is actually upside down, but it's a weird sort of pattern where if you look at it too long the pattern can flip upside down. You can see there that it almost looks like the boxes are going that way now. So now we get into the real work of getting the walls and the paneling all happening. So this isn't very exciting work, I know, or not very exciting part of the video to watch, but just to show that, you know, it's, you got to get up and down ladders and throw sheets around, and it's all part of the process, but it's quite an easy job to do, and anyone can put plasterboard up or drywall for my American friends. Just using my level so that I can screw right into the middle of the stud. In my younger days I used to cite it and just put it in, always get the middle, but I don't know, being a bit more fussy with my house. So now I'm putting the coffered ceiling in. So I'm just marking along for the box section and nailing up some strips that I'll nail the box sections to. So I've just measured that to allow for the extra thickness of 17mm, which I made the boxing material, and I'll just be able to then nail into those bits with an L-shape box section. And just, yeah, I'm putting it around bit by bit, but these could have been made up as a complete box and cut to fit and put in one piece, but it was easier for me just to go around and put one piece up at a time, and I don't really mind too much about how long it takes. I've got my laser measurer there, so handy, those things. This one's a Bosch one, and love the way it works, and it's accurate. I know if I cut it to that size it'll fit. So I'm just nailing that up, no need for screws or anything. Just measure each bit at a time, check those angles, make sure the angles are correct, and they are pretty much, those corners are pretty much exactly at 45 degrees. So if you work accurately from the start, you don't have any surprises with it being 44 degrees or 48 degrees or something that's going to make your corners hard to do. So just go around pinning it all up. Before you know it, it starts to take shape. Just putting some blocking in there so the next bit will sit flush. Flushing up the joints in the old plasterboard. I didn't need to replace that. It was held up there well. I just put a few extra screws into it. That light fitting and the rows will be moved a little bit later in the process so that I can wood grain it, and then it will be put back up in the centre of that room. But getting up in the ceiling is a real pain in this house, so I put that off until I've got a few things to do up there, and then I can get up and tackle a few jobs at once. So this scaffold that I've got is a perfect height for me to work nice and close but not have to duck or stretch. So just scraping off any flaky bits. I did have a huge problem with this ceiling when I come to paint it. Even with scraping the flaky bits, the whole ceiling, when I rolled the undercoat on it, wrapped around the roller and it flew everywhere, and I ended up with flaky old paint all over the place. So I had to come back. I don't think I included the footage of all that, but fessing up, it was a nightmare. That stuff just does not stick, that old paint that they used. I forget what it's called. I think it's called calcimine or something like that. It's like a water wash type thing. It just, when you go to paint over it, it just flakes off. So I had to reseal, reflush a bit and reseal, re-undercoat the ceiling, and then it was ready for painting. So yeah, ended up alright in the end, but it took me a lot longer than I'd hoped. Now I'm flushing these corners, but I wasn't really thinking that once all the framing for the panelling goes up, you won't be able to see those corners, so that's the only bit I did. I decided against it once I realised that none of it's seen, and you'll see shortly. So starting to get the framing up. Now this panelling is what we have here at Bunnings or Home Depot for US, you people in the US, it's just Home Depot. It's just the Econo ply, the cheapest ply you can get, 12mm thick, and I just put it through the sander and I sanded it down to 10 mil, just so it's all nice and uniform, nice flat surface, just calculating the size. So yeah, this bit's fairly easy, but once again it's fairly time consuming, but all those bits could be cut all at the same length. So you can see in the corners now that there was no need at all to flush those corners. So once they're up, I just corked down the corner to seal up the fine gap, and I was good to go. It's just got a small angle on that, 22.5 degrees, so they meet up nicely. I've got my spacers, so all these bits are the same, so when I go to do all my beading, which you'll see shortly, I can cut them all the same size. So the widths do change slightly from wall to wall, but the height of all the pieces, that will all be uniform. So you can see my spacer there, just making sure that I get that on. And I've gone to liquid nails for putting this on. The good thing with the liquid nails is it's quite thick, and if some bits don't get pushed all the way back, the glue still sticks, and it holds it at that distance, so then I can come through and sand it and it won't move again. So got my little LED light window frames there. Now that could have been a video in making that frame. It's just the top curve is just pieces of MDF that I cut a whole heap of curved pieces, and then I nailed them all together to make the frame up at a width of about 130, I believe it was. So I've got 2 of those, and then I've just checking my heights there with the chair rail, making sure everything. This was quite tricky, getting that window in exactly the right place, because I want it to line up with the top of the architrave, and then the chair rail, obviously I wanted it to sit as a bottom frame to that window. So just checking all my heights and making sure it was all going to work perfectly. So yep, just putting in just checking the heights, making sure it's alright. So continuing around onto the wall. Now I've got all the mouldings up on the ceiling. I don't know what happened to my footage for that, but that was a lot of, cutting and then fine tuning, go up down, and then nailing it up. But you can see it's come up really nice. The corners weren't perfect because there was a lot of factors come into those corners, but I just corked up any gap that I ended up with there. So position this window so it's exactly plumb and sitting in line with all the framework there. So I'm just checking that now before I nail it in. And then I've made a piece up, which you'll see at the end, like a full architrave with the curve, and I've put the double fluting on it. Now those big spaces that are in the middle section, they're going to have paint, they're going to have the green paint on them, and it'll have a timber frame with double flutes all around that, but then it goes back into the panelling, same as what I've done in the hallway, just with I've got the little bit of ply that's got to go in the middle and make it look like a fielded panel, and this room is going to look pretty specky. I can't wait to get this finished. I'm on a mission, I want to get this done. So it's starting to get ready to do my wood graining, so give it a real good undercoat, and this is a 3-part undercoat that seals, and same one I've used this for everything, so I've mentioned what that is before, won't go into that again. But yeah, it takes a bit of time going around all this moulding, but the end result well and truly makes up for any time that I've spent on it. So I got set up, it was a nice day. I got set up and I wood grained all the moulding. So this moulding came out really nice, all nice and smooth. I made sure I gave it, like Julie got in and helped me. She did the first coat of sealer for me. Ended up with paint everywhere. But she got in and helped, she did an awesome job. So I gave it another coat of sealer and then painted it with the undercoat brown. And then now I'm doing the wood graining effect. So I tried a few different things here, scrunched up paper. I did see another video on YouTube where they use Scotch-Brite, so I tried the Scotch-Brite, and the Scotch-Brite, actually I used a rag here. The Scotch-Brite I did on the ceiling. But yeah, wiped off the paint, left sort of lines and streaks and everything, and yeah, and then top coated it. So now we're on to sealing the ceiling, and you can see no problems this time. But that paint, that left the ceiling perfectly clean of raw plaster. That other paint just did not stick. So God knows how, just I guess over the years it doesn't really need to stick too much as long as it stays on there. But you put other paint on it and then it tends to flake off. So thinking that in the other rooms I may end up putting some new plasterboard up in the ceiling. It'd just be quicker that way. So now I'm painting the brown undercoat. Now I did this with a brush rather than rolling it because I didn't want to get any like orange peel sort of pattern from the roller. So this way I could paint it up and down along the planks, and it'll, you know, help to make the paint effect. So I worked out that 200mm planks will work out, as it's 1600 wide just in that ceiling section. So I can't work out quickly what the inches are for that, but the 8-inch planks anyway. So running my wood graining tool across there, and then I just blended in the grain just to give it a little bit more realism. And then I did take off a few little bits of the brown paint, as you can see, but that's okay. I just went in with the next plank and touched that one up before I did the wood graining. So this finish here is the toner that goes over the top of the wood graining, which is just a clear what is this stuff? It's like a polyurethane. What's it called? Cabothane, clear, and I just added some stain to it to give it a brown hue to it. So you can see it just looks a little bit more realistic. It's not so sort of black and white, and it blends it to the colour. Most importantly, it blends it to the colour that I want it to look like. So I can change that. I could have made it more red, more brown, more yellow, more green, whatever I needed. So another shot walking down and into the entry, and this is where I am currently. So like I said, that's still wet, that last plank. I'm considering doing black lines in between the planks just to make that look a bit more realistic, but you can see the lines where I've overlapped slightly, and then you can see the window surround there. So that window surround, the framing on those big sections there will be a similar thing, and it'll be painted green, and then like I said, those top panels will be just panelled out the same as the bottom. That's the pattern for the LED light, and the colours that I'll be using. So it'll be the same both sides. Got a little bit more work to do to get the framing ready for wood graining, but yeah, it's coming up quite nice, and all the moulding around the edges, I like how that's come up with the wood grain effect on it. So for those that haven't seen, that's what the paneling will look like, and this is the part of the finished or nearly finished part of the house that I thought I might just quickly show you to remind you, or if you haven't seen it. So this will pretty much finish off the video, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and don't forget to like and leave me a comment, tell me what you think of the entry, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, because yeah, as you see this whole house get built, and with all the fancy stuff I'm putting in, I think you'll get some enjoyment out of it. So thanks very much. See you on the next video. Cheers.